Hello everybody, this is Fiona from SchoolNet, welcoming you to the first webinar of 2014. Thank you very much for attending our first webinar. Today I am going to talk about poetry sites you will love, and this webinar is geared more to the primary school teacher who wants to write poetry with his or her class. Poetry is something we really need at school. Poetry promotes literacy, it builds community, and it's a great vehicle for expressing thoughts, ideas, and feelings. One thing I've noticed is that the internet provides great support for poetry writing and can make it a wonderful experience for your students. When read aloud, poetry is rhythm, music, sounds, and beats to children. So I would like to share some of the ideas I found on the internet for writing poetry. One of my favorite places for writing interactive poetry is a website called Read, Write, Think. I don't know if any of you know it. They have wonderful poetry interactives where you can save the poems written to your computer. Let me show you 5 of these poetry interactives that I've used in class. I'll start off with shape poems. Well, this website used to call them shape poems, but now they call them theme poems. And this kind of poem is where you choose the shape of the thing that you're going to write about. They have quite a few shapes: nature, school, sports, celebrations, and shapes. And within those categories, there's actually 32 shapes. So say for example you wanted to start with nature. Click on nature and you'd select one of the templates. So if you wanted them to write about a flower, for example, you'd click on the flower and then you'd start writing. And what I always do at this point is I tell them what I want them to write. What does the flower make you think of? Give 3 adjectives to describe the flower, things like that, until they come up with a lovely poem about flowers. Unfortunately, I haven't got one to show you, but when they have finished, they would just save this poem, and I always make them put it into a program like PowerPoint or Microsoft Publisher, where you can decorate the poem very well. The second shape, or the second interactive, I should say, is a diamante poem. This is a very popular type of poem where you have the shape of a diamante. So in Read, Write, Think, this is how you would start, and then you'd click on Get Started. And you could do this type of poem in different ways. You could have a synonym poem, and you could have an antonym poem. You could have, if you look at those antonym one, it starts with one thing and it ends with another. They also give you some examples on how to go about writing this diamante poem. This is the page that they would provide, and it gives you some direction. And when I've written them in class, I've tried using those directions and as a way of revising grammar with the students. Then you would get started, and if you've a beginning topic would be the first word and ending topic would be the last word. So you could do that, or you could just put their name at the beginning, the name at the end, and use this as a poem about me. What I also like about this particular website is that there's plenty of lesson ideas for each group, from kindergarten right up to grade 11 and 12. They give all sorts of wonderful ideas on how to write poetry using this diamante poem. The third one is the well-known acrostic poem, where you would write a word down and think of horizontal words that start with those letters. So when you open the acrostic poem interactive, it'll teach you a little bit about the, the acrostic poem, and then you choose your words that you want. So I got the class, a grade 3 class, to do their names and to think of words that started with the letters in their name. It's always a fun type of poem to use, an acrostic poem. When you finish, this is how it would look when you wanted to save. You'd get your name and you'd get all the words that you wrote for your poem, and you'd either print it or save it or email it. The fourth type of poem is also a very interesting. It's called a word mover poem, and in this poem you would either use their words or your own words. So you'd start a new poem, or you'd open one of your poems in progress, and then you could choose. Do you want your own words that you write? So every time you wanted to write a word, you'd get this little grey block. Or do you want some help from them with word banks? So I tried the word bank idea, and I got the different. What happens is you look through the word bank for ideas, and then if you can't find anything, you just click for a new word bank, and so you keep going until you get a nice lot of words, and then you fill up with your own words in between. So it's a really nice way to write a poem, a found word poem. I also thought this was quite a nice idea, like a letter poem or a note poem. So you'd start off by writing a note in the normal way, dear so-and-so, and an ending, and maybe just 3 parts to your note. So this one has got, Dear Daddy, I've taken the duct tape that you left on the workbench in the garage and that you probably need to tape the batteries in the TV remote. I'm sorry, but my toy was broken. Love, Dorothy. Then first you look for the words that you want to stand out, like Daddy, duct tape, sorry. And you break the words into 3 ideas to make into stanza. So you'd have your 3 ideas written one under the other like that, and then you'd start using line breaks for each stanza. That's just a fun way of writing a letter poem. But on this particular website, there's not only poetry, there's timelines, Venn diagrams, cube creators, webbing tools, and even templates for newspapers, brochures, and flyers, signs, or posters. So it's a really nice website to get your younger students working on. Now my second lot of poems come from a different website, from Scholastic, and I've got written the URL there below. This presentation will appear on the SchoolNet blog when as the recording for the webinar. And so if you want to have a look, but what I like about this poetry engine, it's a lot of fun to use. The kids love it. It's at 4 different kinds of poems: haiku, limerick, cinquain, and free verse. And what I like about it, it teaches you about the type of poem first before you write the poem. So for example, if you were doing a haiku, it would explain what a haiku is, and how it's written, and the syllables, and how the syllables are broken up, and then you would write the haiku. That's very pleasant. And my third website that I've used recently is this one called oakdome.com, and on that website he's got a few poem generators. So the 2 that I've used so far this year are a holiday poem generator and an I am poem generator. Now this would be the holiday poem generator. So this was just to give people ideas of writing about their holiday when they came back to school. They'd fill in all the pieces in the middle, and their poem would get written, and then they would save it to put it onto PowerPoint or Microsoft Publisher, because both those programs can be nicely decorated. The other one is the I Am poem generator with 3 stanzas. So you could see it as an opportunity to talk about stanzas, and they would not put the first words because those would appear on the original. They just finish each prompt. This one worked very well for an I Am poem. Now, with poems, as I keep mentioning that I put them onto Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Publisher. And the reason that I like these two programs, and especially PowerPoint, is you can easily add clip art. You can move everything around very easily. You can change it to portrait orientation if you want to. You can add nice font or even word art. You can save that that PowerPoint as a PDF or an image. And my idea is that you could put all of these images into one PDF, upload it into a free ebook program called ublisher.com, and then share it with the parents. The fifth website I discovered on the internet, it's a very nice one, I must say. It's called Laura Candler's Poetry Page. And I loved looking around this particular website. She's got some very interesting ideas, and I wanted to actually see what she'd said about bio poems because I want to get the grade sixes writing bio poems. So when I got to the bottom of the website, this caught my eye. She said it's a poem called "If I Were in Charge of the World," and what it is you write this poem, and then you put it into Microsoft Photo Story 3, which is a free application which works really, really nicely for poetry, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So what I did with a class is I showed them the poem that someone else had written about If I Were in Charge of the World, and it had words underlined, and then they used this as a template and changed the words that were underlined to what they would put if they were in charge of the world.